Welcome, everybody, here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. My name is Andrew Valentin, and I hope you're all having a wonderful Wednesday. We are coming to you live here from the Illinois Media School here in Lombard, Illinois. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, somebody is playing with their stick over here.
Whoa.
What, too much?
Daily.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope wherever you are, day or night, I hope it is just right. And with me, of course, as always, the fantabulous, the ever wonderful,
The man playing with his stick.
the man playing with his stick and mic, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Drew Gwillem. Drew, how you doing, man?
It's good to be back after a week off. So,
Absolutely,
a
absolutely.
little
man.
overtime work and car troubles.
Yeah,
What are you going to do?
man, if I could tell you the week I've had with the cars, my God. One's back, one's back, one's back. We've been playing car switcheroo lately. It's not been fun in my house. But folks, we are back. We got Drew back, and Drew, there's a ton of stuff that went down, obviously, since you've been gone. I'm not gonna. I'm not in.
You beat me to it.
I know.
I can't breathe.
There you
Okay.
go. Yeah. So, you ready to get this, my man?
Yep, let's do it.
Let's do this then, folks. And we are kicking this one off with Major League Baseball. Yes, of course. We've got to talk about what is now becoming a very sore, sad, and quite frankly, frustrating situation that's going down in Major League Baseball. If you have not heard, yesterday was the deadline to get a deal done between MLB and the Players Union, and unfortunately, no deal was done, and after which it was announced by Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, of Major League Baseball, that games will be canceled, no opening day. According to sources out there, over 90 games in total will be canceled from not getting this deal done. So clearly, a lot of baseball is getting missed right now. Obviously, we knew that this was something that could potentially happen, but Drew, right from the get-go, I mean, we're going to pour into more of these details. Just hearing that MLB is already in the process of canceling games, it sounds like this is going to be very tumultuous. Again, we'll get more into it, but I mean, just overall thoughts on officially hearing that the season's clearly going to be shortened now.
Shortened if it goes down some. I
Right.
mean, I'm really kind of okay with that.
Mhm.
If we miss these cold weather games at the beginning of the season that our
Right.
teams play, I'm not going to be heartbroken.
Okay.
It's gonna be,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Right.
Get us to May, or not May, but April,
Right.
somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe beginning of May.
Yeah.
Be fine with that.
Absolutely.
So I'm not too upset for that reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I feel like it's just a total mess. This is
Right.
the first time meaningful games have been canceled in a very long time.
Yeah.
And that sucks because as a sports fan and as a baseball fan, wondering what my team's going to do with itself this year. I imagine it's a lot harder for you having a team that's a lot better and more prepared for being in the playoffs and potentially winning a World Series.
Right.
But I mean, it sucks. It's a mess, and honestly, I don't know what it's going to take for them to get on the same side here.
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, I mean, yes, I mean, listen, I love the fact the White Sox obviously have projected now to being a potential contending team. That's great. But I was just talking to our dude TJ in the back, and I was kind of like, listen, I love baseball, and I love the White Sox, and I want to see this team obviously do great things, and I want to see baseball happen. I do love baseball. But I'm also in the same part of kind of going, well, it's not really any skin off my nose.
It's going to benefit the team.
Right, exactly. I mean, if anything, it's like, I mean, let me read it. I do love baseball. I do. It's just there are aspects of the game that obviously I wouldn't mind changing. The length of the game obviously is very hard for me. I mean, listen, in the ballpark, I can absolutely do 3 hours. That's not a problem for me. On television, I give it maybe like a good hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at best, and then my mind may start to drift elsewhere. I got stuff to do, and I can't make a Wednesday afternoon game or a Thursday evening game because I got other priorities right here that I got to handle. So to me, I mean, it sucks. It's unfortunate that this is happening, but this is kind of what Major League Baseball does, right? This is what they've done countless times. They get into these arguments with labor discussions. The players union versus the owners. No one wants to give any side to anything, right? They try to make agreements here and there, but it's little subtleties, and the overall agreement never comes to play like we think it will. And now we're finding out, obviously, some of the deeper details of this. Obviously, the owners are pushing, Major League Baseball is pushing for expanded playoffs. They want, what is it, TJ? 14 teams, right? 14 teams they're looking at? 14 teams. Yeah, 14 teams in the league. Top seed gets to choose who they play, which I think is just odd. And I feel like kind of plays to what they want, like ESPN to do, like it's baseball selection Sunday or something like that, right? It's one of those.
That's too fantasy baseball for me. I don't like that at all. Like,
yeah, it's
them choosing
appeal.
who they play. No, it should be the same system. Fine if they want to expand with teams.
Right.
Great. More baseball in the playoffs is great.
Right.
I like that. Just like more football playoffs is better.
Right.
But for them to choose, that's just stupid to me. Like play it out like it's always been.
Mm-hmm.
Like your rank in the playoffs. How it's every league plays their playoffs that way.
Right. Exactly. I mean, listen, the NBA is
Seeding.
obviously doing a little bit something different now with the play-in tournament, but still, that's still kind of working in that sense to what they need to do, right? So
it's still like seedings, and you're the bottom of the barrel, so you're there, and then if you're the last 10 seed, you're playing one.
Exactly.
Like it's always been.
Right. So, I mean, the whole situation with the expanded playoffs, they apparently agreed to a framework. They were like, okay, this is fine, how we're going to do it. But now, after the discussions, there was a lot of talk from the players' side on social media and certain programs and radio and television. They were explaining, apparently the owners were setting this deadline, what they felt, in order to try and slip in little things to try and, let's say, get one past the union. And obviously the union said, we were prepared for that. We knew they were going to come with this. So it now sounds like potentially expanded playoffs is off the table, which kind of puts everything back to square one with these conversations, essentially. So now these parties have to go back. They're going to have a lot of hard discussions, because right now it sounds like the owners are trying to be the ones that certainly are making the players sound bad. Because if you didn't hear Rob Manfred give his, oh, so great.
God, he's a clown show.
He is
an
unbelievable.
Absolute clown show.
An unbelievable commissioner. I mean, I think right now, if you're going to rank the 4 commissioners, I think Gary Bettman's getting at least a little bit of leeway by saying you can put him at 3rd probably. He's still not great, but Manfred, my God, he's really shown his colors.
Bottom of the barrel.
Yes. In his little speech to everybody, he was obviously talking about cancellation of the games, the situation that was going down with talking to the players and things like that. And then used something that I thought was interesting in his little speech, which he said that the players had changed their tone. Now, it sounds like a little thing, but it's kind of been like the subtle remark that's been pulled out, and it's like Manfred using that kind of term is basically his way of saying, hey, we came to the table ready with what we had. It's them who decided to say something completely different. They changed their tone. AKA, it's the players' fault. It's not our fault. Don't blame the owners, blame the players. But you set up this lockup. So it is your fault. I mean, and I know why they did it. They did it so they could say, hey, if the player, we'll do it so it looks like we're the ones trying to resolve the issue. Because if the players go on strike, everybody's like, well, they have every right to go on strike. Well, listen, you have every right to put them in a lockout. But you've done this to yourself at this point. I mean, hearing that comment, I know it's a small comment, and maybe I'm making a Zeppelin out of a balloon, of a blow-up balloon. I don't know. Yeah, it's my analogy for the day. Thank you, folks. But I don't know. I listened to that and I heard that, I'm kind of like, I take that as an upfront towards you saying it's the player's fault. It's not your fault. I don't know about what you, I don't know how much of the speech you heard. I don't know if you had heard that use of that word. I don't know what you think about it, but I mean, what are your thoughts though? I mean, when it comes to Rob Manfred and clearly how
clown show,
and clearly how he stated himself kind of between the MLB owners and the players.
Yeah, I don't think Manfred's doing any good there.
Mm-hmm.
You have all these players going off on Twitter and social media saying this dude's got to go.
Yeah.
What he's not helping any situation.
Yeah.
The owners crying poor is a joke as well.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Certain owners coming out and saying you don't buy baseball teams to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, come on. They're still worth billions of dollars.
Yeah.
A lot of them. A lot of them make a lot of money.
Yeah.
2 of our Chicago teams, big cities. I like the idea of them possibly making it so lower market teams can have like more of the same like salary cap kind of way, where teams like the Yankees can't just overspend every year and just
Right.
pay the luxury tax at the end of the season. So I like the idea of making it a little more, giving a little more even ground there.
Yeah.
I just, it's tough. It's tough when you have your working men, your players that go out there and bust their ass every day, fight through injuries, do all this for their team.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like they're asking for too much.
Right.
And again, it's millionaires. I know people talk all the time about millionaires fighting with billionaires, but I heard a stat about they played it on ESPN radio. They had the average player that's made over $1 million in the league is like under 40 or is like at 40%, something like that. So that seems kind of low.
Yeah.
And so most of these guys aren't making a ton. And when they're talking about removing minor league players, cutting those positions and they're not paying those guys anymore, and then it's taking a lot of money away from them, that like the players, that they're the ones that put the product on the field.
Yeah.
They're the ones that the fans come to see. They don't come to see the owners. They don't come to watch the owners do their daily business.
Yeah.
So I get some of the things they're trying to do. It's just very frustrating. I can see how both sides are getting frustrated with it too, but I think just overall Manfred's just been ridiculous about the whole thing, and I think some of the things the owners are on are kind of ridiculous as well.
Absolutely. It's it's tough because obviously there are certain things that the owners are saying that I can kind of look at and it's like, okay, I know what you're trying to aim for, but look, the ultimate thing here is obviously what the players are trying to do is make sure that the future of baseball is going to be able to stay intact, right? With the minor league job situation and now the talk about, the minimum wage, like minimum wage right now for Major League Baseball, obviously for all of us here, it's a bit different, right? But minimum wage for them was bumped up from $650,000 to $700,000 in the latest deal. You're $300,000 off, just make it $1 million. Now, I heard some economic guys say that I guess the MLB would have to profit another, like, possibly up to $500 million, so $500 million in order to make the $1 million minimum wage for players. And I understand that that's, the numbers behind it for sure. But if Major League Baseball wants to have a season and they want players, then maybe give in to some of, like, the payment demands, right? The other thing they're having a trouble with is obviously, like, the threshold for the cap, right? That's kind of their thing, or the luxury tax, essentially. They want, the MLB union wants, the players union wants a much higher cap and wants to see it grow exponentially over the next few years, whereas the owners are kind of more in the side of like, no, let's start small and gradually build it up. And it's like, no, you guys are making a lot of money off of us. Like, we want to get paid. Like, you want to keep paying a lot of these guys large sums of money, and then there's some guys that are barely making the minimum amount to be on a team. And not to mention, they may not even be on the team that long. They may be there for a game and then get sent down. So
and these owners are the ones putting out these like 13-year, $350 million, $400 million contracts.
Yeah.
So it's like they're allowing that to happen.
Right.
When anybody who watches baseball knows that when they make those deals, those players are never worth what they're getting paid by the end of those deals.
Right.
Why do it?
Exactly. And I mean, the whole thing is obviously kind of like what we see with hockey, right? It's you want to put years to stretch out the money so that you can pay it over X amount of time.
Yeah.
It helps to stretch out the payments. But the problem with that, like you said, then you get like Albert Pujols, who's 50 years old and can't swing a bat anymore because he's tired all the time. So no disrespect to Albert Pujols. He's still a Hall of Famer. Just saying, you don't want to kill yourself on that kind of stuff. And listen, I've called this the first cut. And what do I mean by the first cut? And I don't want to be morbid about this, but, it's kind of like when you cut yourself with like a knife or anything, right? you bleed, right?
The first cut is the deepest.
The first cut is the deepest. And I mean, quite frankly, this is a pretty deep cut because honestly, when you think about it, baseball already just had like a 60. We just went through a full season, but we already went through the 60 games and 66 days thing, right? And we were frustrated with that. And this is the first cut that I feel like is starting the process of what could be the inevitable bleed out of Major League Baseball, right? Where I'm not saying this is going to be a thing that inevitably kills baseball like that, right? This is like a 50, 60, 70 year period of baseball potentially having this issue in front of it. I'm not saying this is going to last that long. I'm saying that this will be a reoccurring theme that comes over and over again. You miss another full season or you miss a half of this season, it's almost like for me, like game over for baseball. Like I feel like
baseball's been dying for a while
exactly.
now. It needs help, not hurt.
Yeah, it's on oxygen right now, and it could use a little bit of adrenaline shot into it. And at this point, if this is the way baseball is going to be going about itself, to me, the players are saying we're willing to sit out. The owners clearly have enough money, and again, not to be morbid, but some of these guys are going to be gone before baseball ever does decide to wipe itself out. Inevitably, this is just going to hurt MLB. It's going to hurt Manfred and all those guys because you're already considered the third best sport in the country. Hockey's got more entertainment, and yes, it's more regional, and there's other things to it. But if you're not careful, hockey passes you up. And then all you got to worry about is soccer. But if you don't have a season, even TJ was saying it, if I can replicate what he was saying, this is the perfect opportunity for Major League Soccer to step in and be like, well, if they're not going to put a product on the field, let's do it ourselves. And listen, they've expanded. They've got some new teams. This is a great opportunity to maybe go get some stars clearly and from maybe some places that are not doing too well right now in the country, right? It's an opportunity to see the game grow. And
this is maybe an unpopular opinion with some out there, but I don't think soccer, for me at least,
yes,
soccer will never pass any sport.
No, and that's fine.
Definitely baseball,
right? And that's totally fine. But I mean, at least if anything, it gives them the chance to take all the viewers and possible ratings away that baseball had. And let's not forget too, the USFL is right around the corner. We love football, right? Yep. When it comes up, we're talking USFL, folks. That's gonna happen. I don't know how good the product's gonna be. If it's AAF, it's gonna be terrible. I don't want to do that. But if it's anything like the XFL was, and I'm hoping that it is, folks, people love football in this country. Don't tell me they're not going to pass up the opportunity to watch a football game over a baseball game. I'm sorry, that it doesn't read out properly. But Drew, I'll ask you this. Do you think, I know we've said this many times before, but I ask you personally, one-on-one here, do you think there's any chance of Major League Baseball having a season at this point in time? Or do you think that there is the realistic possibility that there is a shutdown of an entire season coming?
I don't think it's going to be the whole season. I think eventually they're going to agree to terms because the missing paychecks is going to hurt the players.
Yeah,
it will. Mm-hmm. And you know what? The owners are also going to feel it as well. So there's going to have to be some budge on both ends.
Yeah,
but the owners are going to feel it too when just like COVID shortened season when they lost a lot of time from ballparks being shut down.
Right.
And the game's not being played at all.
Mm-hmm.
Same situation here. Nobody's working. Nobody's there. Nobody's playing. Nobody's going to come see them.
Right.
So no playing, no money.
Right.
So I think both sides are going to feel it. The player's going to end up feeling it more because there's a lot of guys who don't make the high dollar amount that the superstars do. So there's going to be a lot more guys on their teams feeling it and wanting to get something done so they can start getting paid again.
Right. Yeah.
But eventually I think that will happen. But as of now already, while it's 2 series, it's still a shortened season, and I think it definitely will be more games than just that before they come to some sort of agreement. But as to how long, I mean, I feel it's really up in the air now.
Yeah. I'm still of the mindset that this could go the full season.
Damn.
Listen, I hate saying
rough.
that. No,
I don't think they'll ever recover. They may never recover.
Is that if it does, I don't know how baseball jumps back. And that's where, like, again, hockey can take over, soccer again. I agree. Maybe soccer doesn't pass them up. Lacrosse maybe doesn't pass them up, but it's a perfect opportunity for people to say, what else is out there, right? And again, USFL, I mean, I don't know if another football league could pass up baseball, but if you get enough people to watch, you get a good enough product. I mean, not now, but in the next couple of years, who knows, right? Who knows? I do think at some point they will play, but I think it will be a situation where neither side's going to get what they want, and they're going to maybe sign like a quick deal, try to get it over with, and try to talk it out again. Because at this point, I don't see where the end of the road is for this whole situation. I don't know what the finish line is like for either side. I know listen, if I'm on any side, if you told me pick a side, I'm with the players on this. I want the players to be objectively, projected in the right way, right? I want them to be looked at in the right light. I want them to get paid the proper amount. I hate this whole system of we can control their deals and all that stuff. Like, let's get these guys the chance, right? Be in the minors, yes, but make sure they are paid the right amount, the proper amount. Like, let's not try and lowball these guys where all of a sudden it's like, well, I got to live in my van, or I got to live in somebody's house and pay X amount of dollars for rent, and that's the amount of money I get paid for my baseball team. Baseball needs to find a way to stop the bleeding immediately. Otherwise, there's no season. I fully believe that. I don't see this outcome being as good as what we saw with those 60 games. Even. I think this is where things could get ugly, because even with the agreement maybe happening, you could still have like a set amount of players that maybe even, I don't know how this would work. I don't know all the logistics of it. Don't quote me on it or anything. But there could be that set amount of players that are like, no, we're going to sit out. We're not going to do this. We're not going to bend to your will. And if that's the case, and those guys are stars, by the way, that are kind of speaking out right now, you're kind of losing some of your best products. So it's a trip right now what's happening in Major League Baseball. I hope that there's a season. I would love it. But again, I'll be honest, at the end of the day, it doesn't really ruffle my feathers too much because there's still so much out there. I'm still invested in the NFL offseason. I still got the NBA going on. I've not watched hockey, but when the Stanley Cup comes around, maybe I will watch the playoffs, right? And the USFL's coming around.
The Hawks are just...
Yeah. Shout out, by the way, Brad Davidson, the new GM, I guess. I don't know.
Congrats.
Yeah, congrats. Not a bold move, but whatever. I guess broke, don't fix it. But I would say it's pretty broke. But yeah, baseball, listen, Rob Manfred, for the love of God, just let the players have a little bit of leeway in this. I know he's a labor lawyer. I know you work for the owners, but just give the players a little bit of something on this. For God's sakes, they are the product. You are just the supplier. They are the demand that we want. Sorry, I want the demand. Listen, if they play for the Chicago Dogs, I'm happy. Whatever the ticket price is, I'll watch. The coming back of I'll watch Schwindel in a Dogs uniform as he hits one out there with Anderson. At the
Schwindy hitting bombs.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. I mean, listen. If anything, it's going to help the international game because there's tons of international baseball teams out there, and every one of them has made their statement. If the MLB players want to come, we are more than happy to open our doors to them. I like that. I guess international baseball will be the thing of the future then, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, guess what they're going to start playing on ESPN.
Yeah, that's
international baseball.
International baseball, baby. So get ready for some crazy commentaries because if you haven't heard those Spanish announcers in baseball, you thought the soccer ones were crazy. They're just as good in baseball, trust me. I've seen them live, folks. They are incredible. Well, folks, when we do come back, we are going to be talking, of course, about the NFL, one team in particular in our hometown here, and just how they can make the offseason that much better. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on the X-Bomb Sports Live Show.
Man, are you still working out? It's like 1,000 degrees.
Intense heat is nothing. To get an intense workout, you gotta be intense.
Our friend here is getting an intense workout with the intense cool of his Hydrotech Cool Breeze shoes.
Which brings your feet a cooling sensation that is the best on the market today. Can only be explained with one word. Intense! Whether you're working out hard or just taking a stroll, these shoes have got your back. Or I should say, your feet. Aren't these shoes intense?
Maybe a little too intense, but there's no doubt they're cool. Man, are you still working out? It's like 1,000 degrees.
Intense heat is nothing. To get an intense workout, you gotta be intense.
Our friend here is getting an intense workout with the intense cool of his Hydrotech Cool Breeze shoes.
Which brings your feet a cooling sensation that is the best on the market today. Can only be explained with one word. Intense! Whether you're working out hard or just taking a stroll, these shoes have got your back. Or I should say, your feet. Aren't these shoes intense?
Maybe a little too intense, but there's no doubt they're cool.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. Apologies for the long break there. I had some business to attend to with a certain somebody.
Technical
Difficulties, yeah.
Just blame it on technical difficulties.
Yes, absolutely. Technical difficulties in the most technical way you could possibly imagine. Well, folks, we are back after talking about Major League Baseball's lockout, but we're ready to pour into our next subject, and we are talking about the Chicago Bears. Yes, we know the season's over. Obviously, both of us not very happy with it. As you can see, I have unfortunately tossed my card in. No, to some of the Bears loyalists out there, you can call me a traitor, but I'm happy, so I think that's all that really matters at the end of the day. But Drew, obviously, the Bears, they're going into the offseason right now. Free agency is one of the first big things that are coming up. Obviously, Combine's going on right now. We'll get into the draft eventually here later on down the road when it comes up. But we got free agency coming up. They got a lot of money to spend. It sounds like they could be having upwards of $40 million if they do certain cuts and spending situations. So right off the bat, Drew, I mean, obviously they got a lot of money to spend. I mean, there's a lot of free agents out there. We're going to go through a few of these here. But real quick off the bat, do you think that the Bears will be looking to spend the big bucks this year to support their franchise with this new regime in? Or do you think it might be some of the same old that we've seen year after year?
Well, it's going to be new. It may look somewhat the same at times,
Yeah.
but it's new because it's new people making the decisions.
Right.
It's new people in charge of those decisions, which is a good thing.
Yes.
A very good thing. Hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
Again, hope and pray.
Absolutely.
You've already heard from Poles mouth himself. He likes a lot of the idea of those second day free agents, that there's a lot of talent still there that you can get for cheaper. I don't think this is the year that they go out and just dive right in and go and try and sign some big money guy right off the bat.
Right.
I think this is more of an evaluation year of what they have, what they can do to, more importantly for me, is try and get more picks.
Yes.
I think this would be a year, as well as Robert Quinn had last year, to maybe throw his name out there on the market to see where his value is as big as it's going to get right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
For a team that needs a lot more pieces on both sides of the ball, these are the times when maybe that guy goes. Maybe that guy gets traded for a haul that you would get so much more for now than you would have just a season ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I had to pause there for a minute because I was thinking about, all right, this is new. This is a new regime. Ryan Poles seems like he's a guy who understands player evaluation depth. He was a player. I think he has a full understanding of how this system works, right? Matt Eberflus, he really kind of described the kind of players he's looking for. Got very technical too, which I kind of liked the fact that he was like, well, he was talking about the 3 technique, right? He was talking about the 3 technique and how they need a pure 3 technique to work with the zone and stuff. Like, he really got into depth on talking about it. I'm like, okay, clearly this guy knows defense. We knew that. We know this guy knows this stuff. But, like, the way he got into the technical details kind of, I would say, again, I'm not full Bears fan, but as a football fan, I would kind of be like, all right, this is something you want to hear, right? This is what you want to kind of hear from your coach, these technical terms that he knows what he's speaking about. He's not talking just to be the smart guy in the room. Sorry, I get choked up thinking about it. He's talking about it because he knows what he wants to say and he wants to explain it to the media, which is great.
And on that same level, needing a 3 technique, this defense is changing. It needs different players to make, not everyone, but again, needing a true 3 technique on that defensive line. Okay? So needing to get new players in means you're going to have to spend some of that money to get somebody in. It doesn't have to be the best guy out there, but again, maybe a second day guy that maybe went through, had some things not go his way in the past, and maybe someone like that has performed in the past and needs a little bump.
Yeah.
And could have that opportunity here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's start diving into some of these free agencies. These are the priorities that at least myself personally I've identified. I've also seen a lot of people identify for the Bears. This doesn't necessarily mean that these are top priorities. These are kind of the things that have been kind of singled out for the Bears at this point in time via the writers and the experts and things like that. So take it for what you will, folks. Take it for as it is. But let's start off with obviously the best hands possible right now. Everybody's been talking about this. The Bears getting a top wide receiver, Allen Robinson. Sounds like it's a no-go with him. He's going to be leaving. So that means that you now need to go and get your next best guy, right? And there are a ton of options that are clearly going to be out there. Obviously, the top name out there right now is Davante Adams. He's the clear-cut number 1 guy on the free agency list. And it sounds like, as far as the situation goes, he's not committed to anything. He's going to explore his options. I think he's going to wait for a certain somebody to maybe make a certain move. We'll see. But,
absolutely.
Yes, and we will get into him very soon here. But as far as the wide receivers go, I mean, outside of Davante Adams, there's Chris Godwin, as we know, who's coming off an injury. There is also Calvin Ridley, who is a trade piece, but he's still included somewhat in this. Mike Williams is another one, too, that's available coming from the Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, there's a ton of talent in there in terms of, like, wide receivers that if you really look at it, there's a chance that the Bears could get maybe a couple of these guys or at least maybe land one of the big ones potentially. But, Drew, I ask you, of the wide receivers, I mean, who do you feel would be a good fit potentially for the Bears? Who would you like to see them get? Who's maybe a surpriser that you think the Bears could kind of snatch up maybe for cheap, something like that. What are your thoughts?
I mean, obviously, I love the idea of Devontae Adams. He's the best damn wide receiver in the game. Okay?
Right.
And it definitely helps having a quarterback with the arm of Aaron Rodgers and the accuracy that he has throwing him the ball.
Absolutely.
Okay? That helps a lot. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's going anywhere. Unfortunately, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going anywhere at this point.
Yeah.
It really chaps my ass. Doesn't make me happy.
Right.
I want him gone. Get the hell out of Green Bay. No
Get
more.
out of the division, for
Please.
God's sakes.
Go away. Go away. I would be very happy with Chris Godwin. Very happy. Even coming off the injury, he'll be fine. He is an awesome player.
Yeah.
Awesome player. Again, great quarterback. Tom Brady throwing him the ball. He's going to take a little bit of time to get going this next season because of his injury, how we got it late in the season.
Yeah.
But you're not winning the Super Bowl next year.
Right.
So if you can get him, fine. As long as, again, Brian Pohl said he likes a lot of the second-day guys. So I honestly, I don't think that these top names are going to be ones that they're going after right off the bat. They could still, they do have a second-round pick. There's a lot of wide receiver talent still. They can get a lot of guys out there in the second round if that's the way they choose to go. Mike Williams is one of those guys that might be one that they can get a little bit later. Yes, he had a really good season this past year.
Yeah.
But it was kind of up and down as well.
Right.
So I think it's one of those guys that teams might be slightly hesitant on, where he might fall to that second day, and they can get him there. And I like that idea.
Okay.
There's a lot of players out there that even a Juju Smith-Schuster type that's out there that I would be happy with a guy like that. He balls out when he goes. He plays tough. He plays the game the right way, and I am a fan of him as a player.
Yeah.
Would be a guy that would. He came into the league at 19, I believe. So he was one of the youngest players in the league at one time, and maybe he might be 22, 23 right now.
25 or 26, I
really?
think, something like that, yeah.
God, that long
I
already.
know, yeah.
Seemed like he's only been in for a couple years.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's a guy that I wouldn't mind seeing them potentially bring in.
Yeah, and wide receiver's tricky, obviously, because you want to try and find guys that certainly are going to fit with your quarterback. And I think Justin Fields can be that every kind of guy quarterback. It's just difficult, obviously, because right now he's a young player. He's gotten into his rookie season, so you're trying to figure out what the next best fit for him is. Right now, Darnell Mooney, is he the top guy? Maybe he could develop into it with a lot of more work. But right now, I would say he's more of your number 2 guy. I mean, listen, if you could get a Godwin or a Williams or something like that, that'd be great. I would say right now, Michael Gallup is not a bad option, I don't think.
He's not.
He would not. He'd be a little bit more pricey than usual because I think he would look to be more of like your top-end wide receiver. But I think he could be an available option, 6'1", 6'2", 205. He's around that range. He's really good on the routes. The only thing is, very fast. The only thing is, though, that he's kind of a little bit of an attitude at times, which obviously wide receivers sometimes come with it. Exhibit A being maybe AB, I don't know. But
he's a good player, and he's buried.
He's
buried on that depth chart behind Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb.
Exactly, and obviously with the injuries he sustained, and then Cedric Wilson kind of showing his stuff. And there's another guy, Cedric Wilson, that's kind of shown his stuff. I wouldn't necessarily say he's the number 1 wide receiver, but he could certainly be like a good slot guy if you want to pay for him. I'll throw out a few names real quick. You mentioned Juju. Actually, Juju's 25 years old, so keep that in mind. He's very young. Right now, he's only estimated around $6 million a year for his value. So that's not too bad.
Right.
That's pretty good. Other guys in his value, possibly, Emmanuel Sanders, who I actually think you can maybe get cheaper, actually, because he is a little bit older.
Right.
I wouldn't mind taking a run at A.J. Green. Because even though I know he looked a little sloppy in Arizona, he's not really the speed guy anymore that he used to be. He's more of a possession guy. And I think for Mooney, being that speedster down the field, A.J. Green, I think, can be that complimentary, like what Allen Robinson, I think, should have been more so in being the receptions guy, the possession receiver, get the catches, things like that. So I think that could be a viable option if you want to explore it. Again, injury issues have come up with him, obviously, some sloppy play. You certainly need to look into that. So I think between those guys, you may have the option because, again, they're cheap. They're easy to work with, I think. You don't have to give them long-term deals necessarily. Juju, probably more like a 3-year deal.
Yeah.
But the other guys, it would be like 1-2-year deals and see how they work. And if it doesn't work, well, let them go. And you don't have to give them the $6 million. I think you could probably get them for maybe about $3-4 million on the year, right? With a like $1.5 million guarantee. Like you're not looking at a lot of money. Other guys also too. Maybe Sammy Watkins. I know he's up in age. He's iffy.
See, you can't count on him to be out there playing.
I know,
so
he's injury
that's where he's
prone
tough
as
for
hell.
me. See, I like the potentially Christian Kirk if
That'd be interesting.
if they want to part ways with everything going on with Kyler Murray there. They're not sure what's happening. They're not unsure about the coach and where that's going to go. So he might want to be done with that situation and move on. And he's a good player.
Absolutely. Other guy I will say also too. He's not really actually two guys I'll mention really quick too. Zay Jones, who I think can be an effective player. These are kind of more slot guys. And Rashard Higgins. I know he doesn't get a lot of play because of the Cleveland situation. He was also hurt too.
But he's always been one of those guys that has stepped up when those starting wide receivers have been hurt now.
Exactly. And not only that too, but when
cheap.
Cheap. And he's made Baker Mayfield look pretty good at times. And I think when you can do that, you get some credit. So I know bagging on Baker, whatever. But also too, these guys are young as well. Like Zay Jones is 27 and Higgins is 27 as well. So there's two 27-year-olds. Again, you can get them for cheap. They're right now, if registered, $2.5 million. Talking about a year contract maybe there.
Here's a name I just spotted on this list. Juwan Jennings from San Francisco. Ooh. You saw him come on at the end of the year last season when everyone's healthy. He had some big games at the end of the season.
He's a big guy too, 6'4", 220 around kind of.
And he just, man, he shredded those defenses. Those couple games he had, he just looked really good.
Absolutely.
And caught the ball well. He did have a few drops I saw, but for a guy at his cost, if he could be more of what we saw in those games, that could be a steal. Not
to mention too, for those who don't know, this guy went into college as a quarterback and he came out in his last year as a wide receiver and made the NFL. So keep that in mind. This
Very
guy is an
talented.
Athlete. Yes. And
talented athlete.
Obviously, Nagy's not here, but if you did want to run a trick play.
Nagy went back to the nest. Papa.
I knew you were going to.
Papa.
I knew this was going to come up. I knew I was going to say Nagy at some point.
Nagy running out the door. Papa, can you hear me?
Please, sir, I want some more.
Please, sir, take me back. I'll have nowhere to go. Can I get demoted and go back to Andy Reid? Yes, you can. Bye.
It must be so easy to go. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, listen, run a couple trick plays, right? This guy, he can throw the football, folks. He's like a good 55-yard. He's got an arm on him. So, I mean, if you want it, honestly, I think it would be a good option. There's a lot of options out there.
Russell Gage is another guy.
Mm-hmm. And listen, I'm not his fan, but if they want to take a shot at OBJ, see if he would be interested.
I don't think he's going anywhere.
I don't think he's going anywhere. He already said to the Rams he would take a discount.
Yep.
I think he's happy where he's at. And honestly, with them getting back Robert Woods, I think it makes him even happier because he's like, I just got to work the middle. That's it. Perfect. Easy. No problem. Easy job.
Man, there's Jacoby Myers on this list. Even a Preston Williams you could get real cheap.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, there's some older dudes on here where if you want to bring them in here for cheap, again, listen, whether you're a fan of them or not, like Danny Amendolara, I mean, Demarcus Robinson, there's some dudes on here that it won't cost you but a couple, maybe 100,000, maybe $1 million, and you could get them in here.
Auden Tate from Cincinnati, who's buried on that depth chart too.
Keenan Cole's another one who I thought was pretty impressive.
Jalen Guyton got some deep run with the Chargers for a little while there.
Yeah, Jamison Crowder is another one that seems to be a hot name on the rise too, and he's a big figure as well. He's a nice target for a young quarterback to work with.
He is a veteran, really nice.
He's worked
possession receiver,
and listen, he's worked with some bad. He's worked with some bad.
He's coming from the Jets.
Yes.
Okay,
so I'm sure he would be like, "Oh, it's an upgrade."
Yeah.
No disrespect to you, Wilson. It's just more. I got to see more. All right. Well, listen, a lot of wide receivers. Obviously, I want to keep gushing over them as well. But let's move on to the big need of protecting the quarterback. Right. In order for this team to really be successful, you got to protect Justin Fields. You've got to make sure there's protection around him. So of the offensive linemen that are out there, I mean, and there is a ton of talent out there, right? Brandon Sheriff right now is considered to be maybe one of the top offensive linemen out there. In terms of tackles, Teron Armstead is right now considered one of the top guys with Orlando Brown Jr. You also have Cam Robinson, who has been the big name really connected to the Bears a lot lately, coming from Jacksonville. I mean, there's a ton of guys out there that could be available. I think there's even some talent underneath the top talent that could, like you said, second-day guys that you could take advantage of to fill in the gap, which, to be honest, if you're keeping James Daniel, which I'm assuming the Bears are going to pay him.
I don't know.
Maybe. I'm assuming.
He may require more money than what they're willing to give him.
Right. Yes, and that's true. So let's play the game of like maybe he will, maybe he won't, right? So I mean, they could bring him back, which if that's the case, you're filling in your center and your right guard spot. But if he doesn't come back, then you have to fill in the entire interior. So Drew, I ask you, playing this game of will he, won't he, on both occasions, who are 2 guys or 3 guys you see potentially taking over for the Bears as being like your top guys to the guys that you could see sneaking in there as being good value picks?
I like Ryan Jensen up the middle.
Yes.
From Tampa.
Absolutely.
He's a guy that's gotten better year after year, and he's a nasty dude up the middle. Yeah. I think that kind of attitude is what they need on this offensive line. They need much more of. I want more Olin Kreutz types out there. Yeah. Okay. Ripping people's heads off.
Absolutely.
So if we can get Tevin Jenkins like that, we get a guy like Ryan Jensen up the middle. I think that's a really, really good start.
Yeah.
Brandon Sheriff, I mean, come on. Who's not going to want him?
Right.
Who's not going to want one of these top name guys because the Bears don't ever have them.
Right. Yeah.
Especially on the offensive line.
Right. I mean, anytime we get them, it always seems like we get them after the fact. Or, I mean, in some cases, we've also been fooled, I think, sometimes into taking them, i.e. the I forget his name, but the infamous player we got from the Saints that played left tackle for us for so many years. I can't remember his name to save my life. But there's been a mess of these guys. But anybody else that pops up to you?
I mean, Eric Fisher's always a good player. Playing, I mean, yes, you do have a guy you drafted that you want to play left tackle, but maybe this new regime doesn't see him as a left tackle. Maybe they want him to play right tackle.
Yeah.
So that opens up a spot there.
Right.
A guy like Eric Fisher has been a really good player in this league blocked for some good quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So, man.
I know there's
Jermaine Fetty's out.
You hear that, Brandon?
That's for you, Brandon.
Fetty's
a free agent. Should we sign him? He can play left tackle.
That's pretty good. I wasn't ready for that one. Wow. Yeah, no, there's a lot of guys out there.
There is. The list is on and on. There's 122 players on offensive line.
Real quick, obviously, if Fetty's one of those, do not bring back. Will Hernandez is out there from the Giants. He is rated as one of the worst guards. Do not go sign that man, please. I'll throw out Austin Corbett from the Rams. He's kind of been a guy that goes in and out of the lineup, but he's been consistent. He's been strong. He's big. He plays guard and tackle, so you can use him unilaterally around the offensive line if you need him. I do like, I'm going to butcher his name. I apologize, but Laurent Duvernay Tardif.
Yeah.
Tardif, because, Tardif, excuse me. Because, one, the guy's a genius, number one. He knows the playbook front to back to front for the Kansas City Chiefs. I know he's been out for a while. He is a little bit up in the age at 31. But I think he's a consistent player. And listen, I know he's one of the more expensive guys, but I think he'd be somebody worth it. Sheriff, Andrew Norwell's another guy. Those are the two 6'6", 325-pound, $10 million giants that you could get if you want to pay for that. They would obviously, I think, make the team a lot better. Your run game would be unstoppable, I think. David Montgomery, have a ball, baby, at this point. Khalil Herbert, by the way, too, have a ball with that as well. I mean, Laken Tomlinson, I like him. I think he's good. He can be consistent. I know the Niners think he might be very expensive, but I think you could probably get him on a pretty nice deal for the most part. Ethan Posick Posick, I think it is how you say it, Posick, from the Seattle Seahawks, originally with the Bengals, I believe, at one point too. An incredible big center, has been hurt, has been kind of the only thing that Wilson has had to really be consistent on that offensive line.
Yeah.
Other than Dwayne Brown, obviously.
I don't know that he's gonna. Russell Wilson's gonna let him go.
Exactly.
Like, you better keep him or I'm leaving.
Right, exactly. You also have Billy Price from the Giants as well, who I think was just kind of stuck in a bad situation with the Giants. I think he's still pretty consistently decent. Trey Turner, I think, is a guy you need to take a hard look at. He's older, yes, but he's still fairly consistent at the guard spot. I think he would be great. I mean, if you keep James Daniel, this is your compliment to him. This is the guy I think you could put on the opposite side that would not cost you as much money. Now, without James Daniels, I think this might be the guy to replace him. And I also still think there's something with Alex Bars for the Bears. I like that kid. I think he's good. He proved himself as a guard once before. I think it's just a matter of him staying healthy. That's going to be the situation for him. But for the Bears, listen, they've got a ton of options out there right now. I mean, could you bring back Kyle Long? I don't know. I think that time has passed. So. But listen, there are names here that I think you need to really take a consistent look at and see if there's a chance there, right? Alex Kappa is another one.
Nick Martin from Vegas.
Absolutely. Ode
Abouche from LA Chargers is at the tackle position, so he can play either side for you.
Mm-hmm.
They had a really good offensive line last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, as far as the tackles go, I would say if you're going to kick like Larry Borum inside or something like that to play guard, if that's going to be the case, then I would say go for Cam Robinson. I think he's like the only one that you could say he's good enough that he would upgrade this offensive line, but cheap enough that he wouldn't bankrupt the team, right? He would just be in that right range of paying him probably about $8-9 million a year, and he'd probably be like your left tackle, which means Jenkins would move to his original position of right tackle, which I would actually be okay with. And then Larry Borum kicks inside as like your bigger guard because he is quick. So I would be okay with them doing that. But they've got options and they've got the money to spend. And if anything, I believe in a GM who was a former offensive lineman for this team to make the right decision. He's already said what he wants out of his offensive lineman. They have to be, they have to be strong enough. They have to bench press it more than 25 times, I think he said. And they have to have a certain quickness on the cone drill, I think, as well. And that's what he wants to see from his offensive lineman. That's kind of where he's projecting them at. And I like that. I like set your boundaries on where you want to look at for your offensive lineman. They got to hit these marks. If they don't, I'm not drafting them, right? And if they don't match that mark here in the free agency, I think it's fair to stay away from them. So any other names you got, Drew, or anybody that you see that kind of stands out for you that could be maybe a special guy?
No one else that really pops for me.
Okay, that's fine.
Again, how often do we pay attention to offensive line?
Right.
I guess as Bears fans, more often than not. But
I'm sorry, offensive linemen. Please, Roland Kreutz, don't hurt us like you would hurt.
It's not a sexy position.
Yeah, exactly.
They know it.
Yeah.
They don't get the credit they deserve.
You don't think this is sexy? You don't think this is hot? I don't believe what I'm hearing. All right. Well, I'm not an offensive lineman.
You don't play offensive line.
No, I play defensive line and fullback. I was the fat back. So, and speaking of defensive line as well as some DB, yes, anti-air is needed. Obviously, they're moving now to a new defense, the 4-3 defense. You've got defensive line, defensive backs are going to be a big concern now for this team, specifically with like getting to the quarterback, containing runs. It's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. But Drew, for defensive line and for DBs, I know that's kind of bunching them in together, but certainly for the defense, those kind of seem to be the kind of focal points. Is there any DBs that you think the Bears need to go out and get in terms of the top names? I mean, you've got, as far as cornerbacks go, you've got like Stephon Gilmore, Carlton Davis, Joe Hayden. As far as safeties goes, you've got like Tyrann Mathieu and Marcus Williams. And as far as defensive line goes, there's the guys from the Baltimore Ravens, Calais Campbell, Brian Williams, and then obviously Emmanuel Ogbah from the Dolphins as well is out there. But is there anybody of those big names that you like? Are there any names underneath that you really like for D-line defensive backs? What are your thoughts?
Obviously, Gilmore's a stud player.
Yeah.
He'd be a nice addition to be our number one guy to give James Johnson a little bit more leeway and someone to learn from. So I like that idea. I mean, Tyrann Matthews, the Honey Badger, he's a stud.
Yeah.
He's still a stud. He would be, I think, a good guy to possibly teach our guy that doesn't know how to tackle back there.
Are you talking about Eddie Jackson?
Sure. Yeah, that guy. But, he's always a nice option. But again, they're more expensive options.
Right.
It's tough to just
throw those names out there.
Right. Exactly. So you've got Devin McCourty's always a good player. He's a really good player as well. He's again at the top of that list. Kareem Jackson, really good, strong safety.
Yep.
Guy that would come down and hit you in the box.
Absolutely.
Could use some of that.
Absolutely.
Eddie Jackson doesn't do that.
No, he does not.
Sure does not do
He
that.
did it a few times, but it was on blitzes at the quarterback, and he got him at the feet. So,
Yeah.
take it for what you will.
I mean, Keanu Neal's a beast.
Yeah.
Getting down the list a little bit more. J.C. Jackson. I mean, if you could get J.C. Jackson, that's where you're gonna have to pay him more.
Right, yeah. He's
gonna make a lot more going forward than he has in the past.
Right.
I believe he's at it looks like a 3+ little over 3 million.
Yeah, he's about 3.3 million
Yeah.
valued at per year. And he doesn't want the franchise tag from the Patriots. It sounds like he doesn't. He wants to get paid, and
He'll get paid.
He'll get paid because
But he's a stud.
Absolutely. Well, that's the thing. Is like one thing Belichick knows what to do is if I got a stud corner, pay the guy because he did it with Gilmore, right? They got Gilmore on that deal from Buffalo, and they were like, throw all the money at him, pay him. He's gonna help us win a Super Bowl. And sure enough, he was clutching that. You know what? Darius Williams and Akello Witherspoon are two guys that stand out to me that are cheap that I think could be really good as the number 2 corners. And listen, it's not to say Thomas Graham couldn't be the number 2 corner still, but I like him more as like your nickel cornerback in the 4-3 defense and allowing maybe a bigger corner to be in that spot in that Tampa 2, if you want to call it that, the Tampa 2 look on the 4-3, right?
And give a young player more room to grow.
Exactly. You give him an opportunity to
learn behind a stud.
Yes, exactly. I mean, sort of like Bryce Callahan, who is also available, which I'm not against bringing him back in. He would cost more, obviously, at this point because he was pretty good.
He was. He played really well in that system that was there. I think at this point, you're just again, if they really want him, if Eberflus thinks he fits the system and what he wants to do, go get him.
Yeah,
I think just
getting a guy just to get a guy kind of thing.
It's what did he really? Once he left the Bears, what'd you hear of him?
Right,
he got hurt.
Yeah,
he hadn't done anything.
Right.
Like I think it's time to move on from things of the past, unless it's like someone that they really, really, really made a mistake on.
Right.
Like yes, I think they made a mistake not keeping Bryce Callahan because he played awesome for the Bears.
Yeah.
That's how he got paid and got somewhere else.
Absolutely.
But I think we need to move forward from that. And again, these new guys are going to pick who they want to pick and sign who they want to sign.
Absolutely.
And they have every right to. And I just hope it's the right guys.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing is just get the right guys. I'll throw out like Xavier Rhodes. I think he's been solid in the past. I think even last year he was pretty decent.
It's just up there in age.
Absolutely, that's the thing is that the age is. But that
again from Indy.
He's
it's one of his guys, and I could see them doing that because that's what a lot of them do. A lot of coaches do.
Absolutely,
they stick with their guys.
Jimmy Smith is a little up in age, but he's still good in the zone.
Coming off injury.
Coming off an injury, so he's going to be a little cheaper. Might even get a 1-year deal out of him.
I'm fine with that. He's had really, really good seasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Carlton Davis.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Desmond King is another one.
Yep.
Casey Hayward would be great. Another great zone corner. I've heard a lot on Charvarius Ward from Kansas City.
Yeah.
I like him, but I'm also a little hesitant because he's one of those corners who I've seen quite a few times give up the big play, and that's a concern because. And then listen, when you're on Stephon Diggs, I know you're going to probably get burned. But there were some times in that AFC Championship game where he was on Gabriel Davis. You think you can match his speed, and Davis just got you on the double move. And I hate that because that's where, like Jalen Ramsey's a great corner. He's one of the best. But if you put a double move on him, you can kill him every time. That's what I'm
if you
concerned
bite on it and take those chances.
Yes.
And you've seen that with Charvarius Ward.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm concerned about that. But listen, there's some guys in here. By the way, don't pick up Vernon Hargreaves. I saw somebody say that in a chat not too long ago. Don't pick up the dude that went out on the Super Bowl and danced out there when he wasn't dressed and cost the Bengals a penalty. All right, just don't. Just don't.
Bonehead play.
Yeah, exactly. As far as defensive linemen go, I mean, listen, Emmanuel Ogbah would be great as a defensive line, defensive tackle combo. Brandon Williams would be, I think, a good spot as well. I know he's the more costly guy. I'll throw out a few others, though. I'll say Larry Ogunjobi from the Cincinnati Bengals had a great season.
Their defensive line, it was very good.
They were very good. Sounds like the Bengals may throw a little bit of cash at him. It's possible. But he has not said whether or not he will kind of go back to the Bengals. This was kind of a year where he's like, I didn't even know I could be this good. Plus, he got hurt. So he may not even get the value that he wants from them, which may mean that the Bears could possibly go in and grab them. Bringing back Nick Williams, I kind of agree with like the situation with Bryce Callahan. It's a maybe. If you want to bring him in as a backup, I'm okay with that. I think he could work, though, maybe as a 3 technique potentially, but he's older at this point.
Yeah, if he's
it's
a cheap guy.
pickup. Yeah. Malik Collins, Jerron Reed, I think would be good. Vernon Butler would be great. If you could get Vernon Butler to come from Buffalo, he looked great in that defense. I mean, him and Ed Oliver, he was a great complementary piece. That fills, I think, your nose tackle spot to find you that 3 technique then. And he's young, too. He's 27. I think that you got a guy then that you can put years on at that point. So I like that. Is there anybody else, though, that stands out for you for like defensive line or defensive tackle, anything like that that you can see?
Your guys at the top of the list, Calais Campbell, Jason Pierre-Paul, who's been a stud since getting to Tampa.
Yeah.
Linval Joseph. I mean, he's up there in age, but you know
Right.
he's a stud. You know what you're getting from him.
Exactly. Let me throw out some other quick names out there for you, too. So obviously, Ndamukong Suh, way up in age, and is a free agent.
Yeah.
There also is
Not really a fan.
Yes. Okay. So you're not a fan of him.
I mean, he's a really good player. He's up there in age. I would pass for the price tag.
Okay.
And try and go with somebody younger.
Okay.
And a little cheaper.
I'll throw out a few more for defensive end. I've got Solomon Thomas.
I like
that
Solomon
the Bears
Thomas.
could have had, obviously, in the draft.
Yeah.
With Trubisky. I was a little bit uncertain on him because I didn't know where he fit in the defensive line, but I've watched him play now, and I think, you know what, you give him time at a 3 technique or a defensive end spot, I think he may be able to work. He's got the speed and the quickness and the strength. That's there. And then I'll also throw in Ryan Kerrigan because I've been a big Ryan Kerrigan fan, and I like his length and I like his hand speed.
He has had his moments in the past as well.
Yeah. So
What do you think about Tack McKinley over there?
Tack McKinley. You know, he's interesting because I know he's got he's got that like heart, right? He gets after dudes. But he's one of those guys that I think he gets caught up too much with like dance. You know what I'm talking about, like the dancing with the offensive line.
Yeah.
He gets caught up, I think, a little bit too much with trying to beat the man in front of him instead of getting to the ball.
Again, we hear Eberflus talk technical terms,
Right.
okay, right? So I think maybe this would be a guy that you bring in and you have Eberflus kind of work that out of him.
Yes.
And I think if you're wanting to get super technical with your guys, there's a young player who maybe some teams will see that. Maybe, who knows, maybe he could fall to the second day.
Yeah.
And you get him for a little cheaper.
Yeah.
And again, at right around 26 years old, nice young player to add to this very old defense.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I mean, listen, if you're looking for like defensive ends, if anything, if you're trying to fill those spots, I mean, Mario Addison's not a bad one. Jerry Hughes would be fine. I've heard people mention Clowney. I don't think he's going to leave Cleveland. And even still, I don't really think he would work in this defense. I know he kind of did in Houston. That was the 4-3 defense with him and J.J. Watt. But I don't think he would really fit in here in the cold weather necessarily. I shouldn't even say the cold weather, really. But
it's pretty cold in
It's
Cleveland.
cold in Cleveland, too, yeah. Just in terms of, like, I don't know if he would fit in with the culture, maybe it was what I should say. Cleveland, I think he kind of fits that team.
Again,
Chicago's building something new. I don't know if you want to bring in a guy like him who's going to kind of maybe break things up.
and like injury wise too with him as well.
Yeah,
like
that's the big killer.
the Bears can't really afford to pick up these guys that like, oh, we're not sure if they're going to even play.
You want guys
half
that
the season.
Yeah, you want guys that are like, okay, like Ogunjobi, like he's been injured in the past, but this was like one of his first like out for the season injuries. Like every other one has kind of been he's been chipped up. Otherwise, he's always been passed down. Like in Cleveland, he just had no chance. He was like third on the depth chart. He didn't have any chance.
If the injury is the exception, not the rule, then you're good there.
Exactly.
I think. And as long as it's not something that can potentially keep reoccurring or make things worse by having that injury,
right?
Then I'm fine with it.
Absolutely.
Like a Chris Godwin type of thing. Like,
yes.
Like if for wide receiver, if they were to go for that guy.
Right. Exactly. If he's healthy all the time and then all of a sudden he gets hurt, it's not the end of the world. It's what I say about Russell Wilson, right? One major injury in 10 seasons of playing and not getting hurt does not mean he is not a Hall of Famer, folks. At least in my book. But
and I think a lot of this with this defense and defensive line is about getting younger.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hey, listen, I mean, I know there's some that are going to say, what about linebacker? Look, I'll say this. Whatever happens with Roquan Smith is whatever happens with Roquan Smith. All I will say, if Harold Landry is really serious about possibly coming to Chicago, which is what I've heard from a rumor mill, apparently, is that he might be interested in coming to play with Eberflus. If that is the case, yes, if that is the case, by all means, my friend, come on over, please. But I'll say this: if Roquan does move to the weak side backer, I think you're looking at the next Darius Leonard. I'll say that 100%. I think you're looking at the next Darius Leonard. Not as big, but just as talented. Honestly, he could still play middle, but I think if he moves to weak side, the next top outside linebacker in the league, bar none.
Oh, I think I rate Roquan as one of the top linebackers in the league, as is.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's an amazing player.
Absolutely. Should have made the Pro Bowl. Don't understand why he didn't.
Yeah,
but that's for another day's discussion. Well, folks, that's gonna do it for this Bears free agency. Obviously, as we hear the free agent moves get made, we'll report on them. We'll talk about them. It's gonna be the Wild West out there, folks. But when we do come back here, talk about the Wild West, the best gunslingers in the league are potentially on the move, plus one pump and runner. We'll be talking that here and more on the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. Welcome back, everybody, here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. My name is Andrew Valentin. I'm still here with the ever beautiful and wonderful man himself, Mr. Drew Gwillem.
B-E-A beautiful.
Yes, B-E-A beautiful. Real quick, before we get into our next topic, our man King B-Mac had our comments. He comes at us with saying, I don't think it goes the whole season according to the MLB. Not even the MLB is that stupid. I hope not, despite their best attempt to convince us otherwise.
Yes, I was just going to say the same thing. They are really trying to convince us that they are that stupid.
Absolutely. King B-Mac, man.
Glad we're on the same page there.
You got to come in, dude. We got to get you up here at some point to talk with us,
That's
amigo.
fantastic.
I mean, by the way, real quick, too, Twitch, unfortunately, having some issues. We're on YouTube right now. I know, shocker, right? We're having issues. But yes, B-Mac, thank you as always, man. That was great. Like I said, man, dude, you got to get in here at some point. We got to talk sports with you, amigo. Miss you like crazy, bud. But, Drew, are you ready to do this, my man?
Yeah.
Let's do this, because this is the fun one, folks. It is the NFL fiasco of quarterbacks plus one exception in this case. But we're going to start this one off with our favorite quarterback ever.
Is it Karen?
It's Karen.
Is it Karen?
It's Karen.
Where?
That's right, folks.
Yeah.
Karen Aaron Rodgers is continuing his little, I've called it an internal Cold War.
Mr. Panchakarma himself.
Yes. Very, very good. It continues his war with the Packers front office amidst all these certain reports about will he stay, won't he stay, he's getting traded, he's not getting traded. It's getting out of proportion. So the latest news is that apparently there was a little bit of a report that came out that said he wanted $50 million a year, making him not only the highest paid quarterback, but the highest paid player in NFL history. Absolutely not accurate according to Aaron Rodgers, but this has been reported by multiple sources at this point. Diana Rossini was one of them, from what I remember. I apologize, I cannot remember one of the other ones who reported. There was another reporter that came out and reported it as well, but I remember Diana Rossini was one of the ones that first reported it, and then it started to outspill a lot more. So my thinking is that the Packers probably leaked this to say, hey, we at least made an offer. It's up to him now and what he does. Again, making him look like the bad guy. If not, he already does not wear that black hat. But Drew, I'll ask you this. What are your thoughts on this fiasco and drama? I mean, I know we're tired of it.
Yeah.
We're tired of it with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
But it's drama nonetheless. It's entertainment in some sort of fashion. What are your thoughts with the Aaron Rodgers drama going on with the Green Bay Packers? Do you think that he is looking for that $50 million a year? Do you think the Packers will give it to him? And if not, do you think he will go elsewhere to potentially go and get his money?
I think he's holding us hostage, and he's holding the Green Bay Packers hostage, is what he's doing.
That's what
You
it feels
selfish
like.
prick. You selfish prick. Give us your damn answer already. He knows what
Seriously.
he knows what he wants to do. I
Of
think
course.
he's just playing with everybody.
Absolutely.
Because he's a dick. Okay?
Well said.
Make your damn decision already. How much more deep thought could you possibly need on this?
He's got to
on this topic.
He's got to send his chakras, right? and all
Okay,
that.
he's due like 45-something million next year.
Yeah.
Even if he wants to play for one more year there, you're going to make $45 million.
Yeah.
Now, again, that would hurt the team.
Right.
If he's going to let that happen, it shows how little he really cares.
Yes.
Which, I mean, we're going to find out. I don't necessarily think he wants is going for that $50 million a year.
Okay.
I do believe him when he says that it wasn't true, that he didn't ask for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because he made so much money already.
Right.
he has made a lot of money, plus everything else he has going on.
Right.
I think he does. He's one of the best to ever do it. The man deserves to get paid. He deserves his money.
Right.
I just want just make the decision. Whether you're staying or going,
Yeah.
the longer he drags it out, the more he hurts the team he's played for all these years, his whole career.
Right.
And I think the more it's not going to hurt him personally, but not that he cares about his rep as is, but and everybody's going to dive on him anyways, but it's just like you're playing. It feels like he's playing games now.
Yeah.
Just make your decision, let everyone know, move on, go with what you're going to do. So either we as Bears fans can cry ourselves to sleep for another football season because the Packers are #1 in the division,
Right.
or we get to cheer and be excited that he's finally moving on.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
make your damn decision.
No, well said, I have to say. Aaron Rodgers, you're a dick.
Yeah.
Very well said. You know what? It's hard for me to take what Rodgers obviously says as truth when I'm not getting into it, but you lie. I mean, you drag us through this whole thing in the mud about the whole situation with the players and everything and your status with the Packers before the season. Then comes the whole vaccine thing. Again, I'm not getting into that, but to me, you didn't tell the truth. That's how I'm viewing that. So whatever. And if that's the case, now you're going to start to say, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm still trying to make my decision. Anything could possibly happen. This sounds so LeBron-esque where it's like, the door's not closed on going back to Cleveland, possibly. You're in the middle of a season, dude. Like, I know the season's over with, but, like, this stuff was starting to pour out before the season even started. This whole, you never know what I'm going to do, next year and all that stuff. I mean, I understand that, yes, in Last Dance, because somebody pointed this out, Last Dance, Michael Jordan was like, you never know, right? That was his whole thing. You never know. But, both of those guys have opted to say, like, I could potentially leave. Like, they have said it. Jordan just said, you never know.
At least Jordan had won how many championships up to that point,
and
was
the
best. He was already the best to ever do it.
Exactly,
the best in the league. Couldn't be stopped.
Right.
They would. I believe it. They would have won 8 if he wouldn't have played baseball.
Absolutely.
So Michael Jordan could say whatever the hell he wants.
Right.
And Rodgers has won 1.
Yes.
Okay. And to be one of the best to ever do it, got to do something more than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard for me to believe what Rodgers says. And that's just the biggest thing is like, I taking his word, sure you could, but to what extent? I like this far, considering like the bar is set like so much.
And I'm with you on that. I just like,
it does seem like an outrageous number to throw out considering how good a quarterback he is. And he's also up in age too. Like you would think, okay, recognize.
Exactly.
Like,
how many more years do you really have left?
Exactly. Like Tom Brady always recognized, like, I need to take less money in order to help my team. I believe I was watching The Herd when Joy Taylor was taking over for him. So you're welcome. No Cowherd. It was Joy Taylor, his coworker.
Good
She threw out something that I thought was fantastic. The last Super Bowl winners and how much their salary cap hit. The highest was Tom Brady, and it was 12.5% of the cap. Every other Super Bowl champion was underneath 12.5%. So that goes to show that if you're making the $50 million a year or Russell Wilson's money or some huge exaggerated number like that, right? Like you said, you're hurting the team because how are you going to pay Devontae?
Right.
How are you going to pay Kenny Clark? Well, I know he took a reduced cap, but how are you going to pay Aaron Jones? How are you going to pay this guy? How are you going to pay that guy?
How are you going to get more weapons in for the guy who needs more weapons to win a Super Bowl?
You keep saying you'd like a receiver, but when you don't leave them with a lot of options, how can they go get you a receiver? Like, let's be honest, they keep going in this direction. They're going to have no room left in the cap. They may not even be able to use their draft pick. Like, that's how bad this could possibly get. Like, using your draft pick, you're probably going to have to find a way to cut money so you can sign your first-round pick or your second-round pick, whatever it is, because that's going to be a couple million on your books again.
They're tight on the cap as it is.
Exactly. They still have to cut more money. So, listen, how much of this, it's really, like you said, just make a decision. Let us know what you want to do. You want to go somewhere else, like you go to Washington, go to Denver, see how fun it is.
He's not going to
No,
Washington.
He's not going to Washington. I do think there may be a chance he could go to Denver, but it's not going to be any better, right? Unfortunately, look, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, that does sound good. But
plus the running back.
With Javonte Williams.
And they're talking about wanting to keep Melvin Gordon there as well.
But when you have to face against a young Justin Herbert and a growing Chargers team, and it's Patrick Mahomes, and you have to beat both of those guys twice a year, it would make for compelling television.
Absolutely.
But would he necessarily beat those guys every single time? I don't know.
Yeah.
And Denver would be hoping that he would be able to elevate them, obviously, to the top of the division. I don't really know if that's going to happen with that Denver team. There's still a lot that I think you have to question. So, I don't know. Aaron, to repeat what my wonderful co-host says here, make up your damn mind and release us from this football hell that you have put us through.
It's prison. We're in jail.
He is holding us hostage.
Football prison.
He is holding us hostage. My God.
I'm all for the handcuffs every now and then, but they're a little too tight right now, okay? Karen? Karen's a freak.
I believe. It's probably why Shailene left.
Punch of karma. Yeah, cleanse.
Just make a decision so we can move on with our lives, because I don't want to report on you anymore. I'm tired of it. All right, let's move on. Let's get through these real quick.
Next.
So we've got Kyler Murray. Our good old friend Kyler Murray. Obviously, we didn't report on the whole situation. So he deleted all the stuff on his Instagram connected to the Cardinals. Now they put out a post, him and his agent, with this long statement. I don't know if you read it.
I've heard some of it.
Yes, I will tell you.
Poor spelling and grammar, I heard as well.
Poor spelling, poor grammar, very long. Looked like an essay paper in my imagination. Just too much, I think. Basically, it was the way of saying they want to be respected.
Win.
Yeah, and win.
Win.
Yes.
Okay. Win then.
Yes, exactly. So the Cardinals have come out and said, we do respect them. We respect the fact that the agent does it. This is his job. Kingsbury and Keem, by the way, the GM, both got extensions today, I believe it was. They're both going till 2027 with their extensions. So they're going to be there a couple more years now. So if that's being the case, then it sounds like you're kind of committing, then I would assume,
to Kyler Murray as well.
So the
This
question,
is Cliff Kingsbury guy.
Exactly. He's known him since high school. He's trying to recruit him in high school and then again in college when he's trying to leave Texas A&M. So there's a question, though, of how much is he going to cost? How much does he truly deserve? What's his status at this point? Yada, all that good stuff that we talk about quarterbacks. So, Drew, I ask you this, man. For Kyler Murray, where do you see him rank among the quarterbacks in the NFL, and where do you see that rank then take him as far as like an extension? Because he's clearly looking for an early extension, so he doesn't have to do like what Baker did with not getting the fifth-year option or the injury situation that's now kind of plaguing Lamar Jackson at this point. But what are your thoughts for Kyler Murray?
So, start with they're not moving on from Kyler.
Yes.
Okay, but we're gonna get that straight.
Absolutely.
Dude's a athletic freak.
Mm-hmm.
He could have played baseball. He could have played football. Okay?
Right.
Was going to be a first-round pick in either sport.
Yes.
Just shows you his athleticism, even at his size. He's not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going anywhere. Okay, so now it's just determining, like you said, how much is this guy worth?
Right.
Okay, and you want to be respected. Respect is earned; it's not given. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and your childish ways of scrubbing your social media accounts from Arizona because you're not getting what you want right away.
Yeah.
That's very childish to me. It's tough to just go out and give all this money to a guy that's doing those things.
Yeah.
For me, because then what happens the next time you don't get what you want? What's coming next? Okay,
Right.
that's what I would ask myself. And again, while saying this, I'm also agreeing that he's not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's going to stay. I think as far as you win to be respected. Okay, as well. And when a lot of that has to do with some of the talent that's been on the team, but this past season, he's had a lot of talent.
Mm-hmm.
The past 2 seasons, he started out really hot. This most recent season being better than the one before, but he's cooled down a lot in mid-season at one point.
Yeah.
Had a few injury problems this year, but he's cooled off to a point where they went from top in the league to not even being really much talked about for playoffs.
Yeah.
And when that happens, where's that coming from?
Right.
Your guy running your team.
Yeah.
Because again, a lot of injuries on the wide receiver. DeAndre Hopkins, losing him is tough. It's
Right.
very tough for any team. But for him, I want to say he's top 10, top 15 in the league.
Okay.
And that gets you paid.
Yeah.
But there like the certain things that I just pointed out, I think some of those things kind of push some of that money down some.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I mean, listen, I think he is. I'd put him in the top 12 as a quarterback. I think he's certainly there. Look, Arizona's improved every year since he's been on that team. So let's be honest. He has made the team certainly better. Yes, the inclusion of DeAndre Hopkins, J.J. Watt, a few other pieces definitely helps. It sounds like now they're losing Chandler Jones. He wants out of Arizona, so you're going to have a little bit more of a blight on defense, right? Patrick Peterson left. Now Chandler Jones is leaving, so that's going to be a little bit of going to hurt them a little bit. But he has certainly played exceptionally well. I would say, is he in the range of Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes? No.
No.
Is he maybe kind of closer to that of like Dak Prescott? Yeah, I'd put him kind of in that category. Listen, I think Dak Prescott might be like the 10th or maybe even the 11th best quarterback in the league, potentially. Like, I think he's in that range. Now, Dak got paid a lot of money, and some people might say you even overpaid him a little bit. That's what Jerry does, of course. But if I think Dak is worth what he's worth right now, then I would say Kyler is probably somewhere in that range too, because from pound for pound, size and height to height, he's one of the best to throw the football. He throws it with like 60 yards easy. He throws it accurately. Like, he's a throwing he's a quarterback who can run, not a running quarterback. That's the thing. And what obviously kind of cost them in the playoffs was that he would not run. He wanted to stand in there and throw the ball. That's fine, but he was getting pressured constantly.
And getting hit. And
Yeah,
it wasn't going
and
well.
then he does his stupid toss over.
Yeah.
The shoulder thing, which, hey, that would have been cool if it was caught. Like, yes, that would have been like your oh no moment, but it turned into an oh no moment because it got taken back for a touchdown on an interception. So
Yeah, okay, winning at the beginning of the season and winning all those games and being awesome
yeah,
through the start of the season is great, but you see the teams that turn it on midway through,
Right.
and at the end that are already good teams. They may go through a lull, but they hit the gas pedal when it comes time to go.
Yeah.
And it just seems like they were very stagnant and stale.
absolutely. I mean, look at this last season, right? Buffalo, Kansas City did it.
Yeah.
Cincinnati got in that mode like right there at the end. They started cruising through teams, right?
This past year, there's so much parity and just
Yeah.
with the way these games were going and the
Mhm.
records, and there was never really one team that led the league that took off that was like clearly the best team in the league.
Right.
It wasn't there this year.
No, you're right. Absolutely. I mean, you can't even say the Packers and the Titans being the number one seeds
Yeah.
were the best team because
right.
they exited early. They
Yeah.
got beat by the teams that everyone's like, oh well, they should be able to beat them, right? Not even close.
Just judging by the Super Bowl, yeah. LA was just there a handful of years ago.
Right.
They've always been a good team. They're always in the running for it. So you expect them to be
Absolutely.
close to that,
Right.
playoffs at least. But for for LA and the Bengals to be in the Super Bowl this year, it shows what kind of year it was.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I hope there are many more years to come, folks. Really hope so.
Well, they're all just maybe
Oh, yeah.
not with them in the Super Bowl.
Listen, man, Joe Burrow is amazing. Don't you talk bad about my quarterback.
I
I'm
didn't
just
say
kidding.
anything bad about him.
I know.
I'm a fan.
I appreciate that. I do. I just wish some other people would get with the program. But nevertheless, we'll see what happens with Kyler Murray. Moving on, though, to another quarterback, the hometown kid, obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco. So much conversation about what's going to be his future, right? He just had surgery. So now it looks like it's, by the way, shoulder surgery. That'll sideline him until summertime. The 49ers have had a lot of interest in Jimmy Garoppolo, but they've said so far nothing really has come up to them that they really like. So, Drew, I'll ask you this. With the surgery he's just had now, do you think the Niners may have no other choice but to maybe take some of the offers that have been given to him? Or do you think that the Niners are maybe holding out to try and see if they could possibly get like a first-round pick for Jimmy at this point? What are your thoughts?
I don't think first round picks really kind of realistic unless it's like maybe at the end of the draft.
Thank
I don't
you for
think
saying that.
I don't think he's played well enough
Yeah.
he hasn't been a win because of guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically managed the team,
Yes.
done well enough
Mm-hmm.
to help them win.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a good season last year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he came on strong again at the end of the season when they needed it and played some solid football for
Right.
them. But we know where the strength of that team is.
Right.
It's running the football. It's not Jimmy Garoppolo.
Exactly.
So for them to, I agree to hold out as long as you can to try and get as much as you can
Right.
for a guy like that. Teams are going to want to see maybe how the shoulder surgery went, how he's recovering from that.
Mhm.
Maybe see him throw the football before they decide to, just jump on board with him
Right.
or agree to a bigger trade.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think they're going to have to wait a little bit to see what's going to, what they can get for him. But yeah, at some point if they think Trey Lance is ready to go, I feel like they'll take not whatever they can get, because I think having him on the team will, as long as the cap doesn't screw them
Mhm.
with his money, I think having him on the team will benefit them more than, say, getting rid of him for peanuts.
Yeah. Well, according to what I've been able to see, at least from the reports and through Twitter and other things like that.
Yes, I said peanuts.
Yes, you did say peanuts.
Nagy. Singing at baseball games.
That's very good. I like that. Yeah, it's one of those things where the reports that have come out say that Trey Lance is apparently maybe not as ready as they thought. So there's a possibility of keeping maybe Jimmy around for another year. And listen, yeah, you're right. Last year, threw for 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. But like you said, he's not a guy that you win because of him. You win with him, right? You have him at the quarterback. Like, listen, in the time that he's played in the playoffs, he has 4 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, okay? And a completion percentage of just at 60%, and a quarterback rating of 74, okay? Good, but not great. Decent, but not championship caliber. Yes, he could have won a Super Bowl, but, they tried to play to the strength of the Kansas City Chiefs, and you can't outthrow Patrick Mahomes. It's not going to happen.
Nope.
Jimmy's good, but listen, on a talent basis, Trey, I think, is 5 times more talented. But in terms of experience, Jimmy Garoppolo is very experienced, and that's why he's 33-18 in his record as a quarterback. So he is a winning quarterback. I think there's a chance they actually do keep him. I really do. I think there's a legit chance they do, because the offer, I think, at this point is probably coming in at around, I would say, probably like a 4th or a 5th round pick. And they're probably thinking we could at least get like a 3rd out of him, maybe even a 2nd, for a team that's desperate for a quarterback. And if nobody gives you that offer, then you hold out, you stick it out with him. If Trey Lance really isn't ready, you let Jimmy G take the realm for however long he can. Back. Yeah, and do the best you can. And who knows, maybe he gets hurt and Trey Lance takes over, and they have their own little Andy Dalton, Justin Fields conundrum to deal with. It wasn't much of a conundrum for us. We clearly thought that Justin should have been the starter at the beginning of this thing. But, to each his own, obviously. And I also wonder that, too, though, because obviously there was a lot of talk with the Bears, Andy Dalton versus Justin Fields with the team, at least. It sounded like veterans maybe wanted Andy over Justin, where the younger guys were like, no, Justin. I mean, there was a lot of division, I guess, in the locker room with that stuff.
Yeah, I think that it all starts from the top. There's
exactly.
Over the years, that divide started to spread further. So
that wonderful collaboration decided to break things apart. But I just wonder that for the 49ers. I'm not saying it's what's happening. I just wonder how many of those guys are like, we're with Jimmy, and then how many of those guys are like, I'm sure they're like, I like Jimmy, but Trey is like that it guy. And let's be honest, you don't trade 3 first-round picks up to get a guy that's going to be sitting for X amount of years, right? The Packers sat and waited and got Aaron Rodgers and said, sit and learn. And but this is a situation where they traded up, and you would think, all right, you took him 3rd overall. By this year, he should be starting, right? That's the way you would at least think it would go. But who knows at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, if they're going to keep Jimmy and run it back and wait for Trey Lance, then look how far they made it last year.
Yeah.
So they could easily do the same thing again.
Absolutely.
With the coach that they have, he's gonna know when Trey Lance is ready. When he's ready to go, he'll be on the field.
Absolutely. He is the man in command, and you got to respect that. All right, and real quick, last but not least, folks, this is the +1, the one on the outside. It is Saquon Barkley, folks. That's right. It seems like there's a real bite for Barkley, apparently. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Giants may actually be trading their star running back. Shocker, I know. Listen, a good running back, obviously, been injured quite a bit now. You kind of wonder if he was actually worth that 2nd overall pick. But, Drew, just real quick for Saquon Barkley before we get out of here, I mean, do you think the Giants actually move on from Saquon Barkley, or do you think that they possibly at least entertain the offers and then keep him and build around him? What are your thoughts?
I think the season we saw last year from Saquon isn't the typical season you're going to see out of him.
Yeah.
Okay, that offense was a mess. The line was not very good. They have a new staff, new everybody, new everybody in there.
Yeah.
To rebuild this team and do some things differently that haven't been working with certain individuals picking players.
Yeah.
Okay. I think Saquon is a stud of a player. I think injury plague last year wasn't all who he is. I think his previous year is more what you're going to see from him.
Yeah.
Before injuries and all that.
Right.
Unless they get blown out of the water, I don't think he's going anywhere.
Okay.
I think they'll keep him around there and see what they can do with him. Like their team doesn't have the most talent.
Right.
So that's what you want to try and do is bring in talent. And you already have that there. He's under contract already. So unless you get blown out of the water with 3 first-round picks or whatever it may be. Like I think you have to keep him there for what he's getting paid for that and does for them. I think going forward, he's going to get healthier and be better going forward than what we saw this past season.
Yeah, I'm same boat with you. I think he stays with the Giants. I don't think they're really going to trade him unless the offers are insane.
Right.
I've heard Kansas City maybe throwing all their draft picks, kind of doing the Rams thing, right? Bunch of draft picks to get Saquon on that offense.
Wow.
That's not even fair. I don't think that should be like a Chris Paul block the trade kind of thing, like don't go to LA situation. Miami would be interesting. I know Miami Dolphins are potentially looking into maybe seeing if they can get him.
That's a team that needs a running back.
They need a running back. Listen, Mike McDaniel's a running coach at San Francisco. I think it would be a perfect compliment. And Tua needs a guy out of the backfield that I think can do a little bit of everything. So I like that. And interestingly enough, the 49ers, I think, is another team that also has kind of been hustling around him. Obviously, Elijah Mitchell, we don't know what's going to happen with Raheem Mostert, but the team they had last year.
I think he's gone.
Yeah, I think he's gone. But I think Elijah Mitchell and a few others seem to have kind of put the balance in. But you want that all-around, one-time feature back that can really run that offense and maybe help Trey Lance if you move from Jimmy G. That's not a bad option to get coming out of the backfield as a receiver and a runner. That could be something that helps Trey Lance develop a lot. But
see, I think the rushing attack that they threw out there, I think they love Deebo Samuel back there. I think they're going to continue to use more of that.
Yeah.
And then still having young guys like Trey Sermon, who, he didn't get a lot of run, but
right.
I think, they picked him for a reason. I think he'll be running backs usually work out there.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. And I think Elijah Mitchell showed a lot, and to go out and anything of that Saquon and a lot of these guys have shown us is don't overpay, don't pay too much for a running back, because there's tons of them out there, guys that you can find that stay healthy and do more for their team than some of these studs that are paid through the roof.
Perfect example is right here.
Ezekiel Elliott too.
Yeah. Perfect example of not needing the best back. Chicago maybe not had the best record, but certainly the combination of both Khalil Herbert and Montgomery seems like it could be an effective
3rd-round pick and a 6th-round pick.
Exactly. And you're talking about value. So, and we'll see with Montgomery. The Bears will have to pay him. So,
and Mostert's a free agent for them. So,
right.
I don't think they're going to bring him back the way.
No, it didn't sound like
him.
It was ending good, but I think they're in good hands with Elijah Mitchell. But we'll see with Saquon. I know he's probably frustrated with New York, but who knows? Brian Daboll, I know he treasured to bring him to Buffalo. He said at one point, I've always wanted to get Saquon into the Buffalo system, and now I have him in New York. So that leads me to believe you're going to tailor plays to him.
Your brand new head coach likes the running back.
Yes.
I don't think he's going anywhere.
No, exactly. Daniel Jones, on the other hand, is a whole nother topic for a whole nother day, folks. But that's going to do it for us. I know this was a long one. I do apologize. If you want to know what I was getting a late Christmas present from our good friend, you don't remember his name. It's Tom McKay.
Who?
Look at that. Yeah, exactly.
Who?
Tom.
Who?
Thank you, Tom and Sarah. I appreciate the Christmas present. I love you both. Appreciate it so much. We want to see you guys. We miss you so much. But
what, you think you have a baby and you just never see your friends anymore? What, are you busy?
Yeah. Love you too, Charlie. Love you from your godfather. I love you, buddy. And I love you too, Drew, of course.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly. I'll put the cotton balls in my mouth and the orange in my mouth. There you go.
Next time.
Next time.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll go to the christening like that. I don't know.
You should.
I should.
Yeah.
But thank you as always, Drew. I know this was a long one, but I appreciate you sticking with me.
It's all right. We like long ones.
I know. We always
shows.
not even
Pervert.
Not even going there. Not even getting. Yeah, I know. I got a mind. But please let the people know where they can find you, listen to you, all that good stuff, man.
You can find me right here on Wednesdays and Thursdays doing the thing like we usually do. On Instagram at d.gwil25 and Facebook at Drew Gwillem.
There you guys go. And make sure, of course, go follow Drew, and you'll catch him here tomorrow. He'll be hosting. I got some fun stuff for you tomorrow, my friend. So we're gonna have some interesting conversations. A little preview for you guys. Of course, we're going to talk about the Bulls, the NBA, and your favorite game, Player Swap, is coming back. Ooh. So Drew's taking the lead on this one, and it's a player that we actually talked about today. I'm not going to say who. So be on the lookout for that tomorrow, folks. We'll see if we can get Twitch working. But obviously, if you guys want to follow me, I'm at The Fluffy Guru on Twitter, but also at Boom Crew Captain on Instagram as well, where you can mostly find me. Guys, if you want to follow our show anymore, you guys can follow and like our page on Facebook, facebook.com/Team XBomb Sports. I'm trying to get the other episodes uploaded very quickly. I know they're very delayed. Again, Facebook's giving me some issues. We're having a lot of technical problems, unfortunately. But nevertheless, make sure to check them out. The episodes will be up there at a later date, so check them out there as well. But if you want to catch the live streams, you can catch them on Twitch when it's working at twitch.tv/XBombSports, 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. And on our YouTube channel at XBomb Sports on YouTube, 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. as well. Also, too, guys, make sure to go follow us on our social media at XBomb Sports on Instagram and on Twitter. And make sure to hit us up with any emails you have at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. Also, too, for the wonderful podcast we have on here, Blow the Whistle. Myself, David, and Tyler do a great radio show on SportsTownChicago.com every Monday, 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time. If you guys want to check us out this week, we didn't go on Monday. We will be going on Friday. I think we're planning for 11, so keep your eye out on that. We'll let you guys know on the Facebook page for the XBomb Sports. It'll be, again, on SportsTownChicago.com. And then catch us next Tuesday for Blow the Whistle here on the TV side, 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. Central Time, guys, as well. Also, too, check out Monday Motivation with Hannah B on Spotify, Odyssey, iHeartRadio, and all other podcasting platforms for the perfect show that'll get you motivated throughout the week. And also, too, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to go check her out on 102.3 XLC, The Afternoon Drive, where she does 3 to 7 p.m. Central Time. I'm on the live on the radio air. Again, 102.3 XLC. Check it out with our very own Hannah Grummer. And as well, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to check out the parlay with our very own Tony Lopez and Kendall Gill. Oh, my God, I almost forgot their names. As they talk about everything in combat sports, boxing, MMA, kickboxing, all types of things. So check it out at the parlay.
Big news coming out soon for them.
Yes, there's the big news coming soon for them, folks. We are engaged with them as well.
2 days as well.
Absolutely.
2 days, I believe.
I believe so.
The fourth.
Last night, yes.
Said, yes.
So be on the lookout for that, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be fun, and we'll announce it as soon as they have finally announced it. And also, too, guys, make sure to go check out the boys at the Fake Football Guys on YouTube. That's right. If you want to get all your needs for your fantasy football, make sure to check them out. The Fake Football Guys on YouTube. You can also find them on Instagram, on Twitter, and on TikTok as well. And finally, if you want to get all the best stuff for your betting needs, check it out. Sharp Action Show. Myself and TJ produce a wonderful betting podcast for all your sports needs. They're an incredible group. It's our guys, Anthony, Dan, and Mario, as they give you all the best odds for your betting needs. So please check them out at Sharp Action Show on Instagram and on Twitter, folks. And that's everything. That's everything. So it's hot. I'm sweaty. We'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll be talking all that great stuff like we did today, except different. So thank you all so much for watching. And as always, much love. And peace out, Boom Crew.